Okay, I think the live stream's up and running. I'm just plugging in an Xbox controller so I can control the drone camera to show you around the Piper PA38 Tomahawk in Flight Simulator 2024. So bear with me a moment or two. The desk is now completely covered in wires. So let's go and press Shift and X and slows the drone camera down to a good speed, and here we go. So, as titled in the video, JustFlight have released the PA38 Tomahawk for Flight Simulator 2024. It's been updated, so it is now compatible with 2024. So I have spawned in on the ground in Ireland. We're at Kerry Airport in Ireland. Available from AnyBuilds. There's a link in the video. We've also put a link to the aeroplane itself in the notes of the video. And I'm going to be working through a checklist of my own design. I'll show you a link to that in a moment. It's available. There's a link in the notes of the video for the procedure. I thought we'd just have a little look around the aeroplane first before we go and do anything else. So you can see it's really nicely modelled. If you've not seen the Tomahawk before, it's a very, very popular trainer and GA sport aircraft, I guess you could put it that way. Very popular all over the world. It comes with lots of liveries. Obviously it came out for 2020 previously. So just going to have a quick look around it and then we'll go for a fly. So if we go and pan around the front, coming through the door. So obviously once you come into the cockpit you see, let's just correct something here. If I put the yokes back on, wrong button. I'll get this right eventually. Oh, we've lost our positioning with the camera. It's one of the things that 2024 doesn't remember the drone camera positioning. So yeah, it's popped the yokes off anyway. So that didn't really help us. We'll see the cockpit properly from inside it, but I just wanted to show you around the inside of the aeroplane. So it does model baggage in the back of the aeroplane, so if you play with the payload you'll see that changing. But having seen photographs this evening of a real PA38 that a friend of mine flies in the real world, it's quite stunning how accurate this is to the real thing. Obviously the radio kit is often different between different aeroplanes. But yeah, I think it should be good fun. We'll take it for a trip around the local area in Kerry, then we'll have a fly down around the Dingle Peninsula and then come back again a bit later on. I've wound the time back because it's actually getting dark, but I've left live weather on, so if we've got any crosswinds we'll have to deal with them. So Tim Miller is asking in the live stream, what am I moving the camera with? I'm using an Xbox controller. So if you plug an Xbox controller into Flight Simulator, it's automatically or mostly configured already, so the analog sticks can both translate and rotate the camera. So that's how you do these kind of sweeping shots to have a look around an aeroplane. So let's go and press Shift and X. We're inside the aeroplane now. I'll press Shift and Space to reorient ourselves. There we go. So the yokes are back on now, so you can actually see properly what the cockpit looks like. So let's go and close the door. Everything has nice sounds. So latch the door and lock the top of the door as well. So before we go much further, I just want to have a quick talk about the procedure I'm going to follow. So I've put a link in the notes of the video. This is one of the standard or functional operating procedures that I write up for the aeroplanes in Flight Sim to give myself half a chance of remembering how different aeroplanes work. It just steps through which keys to press, where to look, what to turn, what to configure around the cockpit, and it keeps it nice and straightforward. So obviously you can embellish this enormously with real-world procedures of the things you might check to see if they failed and things like that. But this just takes you through it quite quickly and efficiently. So I'm going to close that down. I've actually got it open on another screen. What I might do as well is disable the Xbox controller. You could see it glitching there. It was affecting the yokes. Find somewhere safe to put it out of my way. So before we get going then, let's have a look with head tracking as well. That seems to be working well. But yeah, so we get an opportunity now to see the quality of the instruments in the cockpit. Oh, I just want to check the volume levels as well, make sure you can hear me. Yeah, it's looking okay. So you can see that the resolution is really good. It's quite a simple little aeroplane. But that doesn't mean you can't come unstuck flying it. Which hopefully we won't, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to load my procedure that I've just written up. So I need to go and now search on my second screen to pull it up. Here we go. So first things first, we're going to go and flick this little switch over in the corner which puts a tablet on in the aeroplane. It calls home, I think, to JustFlight just to make sure that you have actually got a license to be flying the aeroplane to combat the pirates, which are rife in the flight simulator world for some reason. Okay, so we'll remove the chocks and the tie-downs and the pitot covers, and then we can actually choose. If you've not seen this aeroplane before, you get quite a lot of choices here. So we can have an automatic fuel selector or not, which means it's going to flick between left and right wing tanks automatically for us. So we'll leave that on. We can have a dual GNS 530 and 430 if we wish. We can have just the 530 with the normal transponder over there. Or we can have no GPS. So you get a blank placeholder there, and you get an ADF down here. So you can turn the ADF off as well if you wish. We'll leave it on. You can make the yokes appear and disappear in the tablet. You can make the doors open and close. What does charts do? Oh, it's just this. Okay. So this goes through all the procedures for the aeroplane. So it's a piece of paper basically. And we can rotate this, which is quite cool, isn't it? Do we click this end? Yeah, that will put it away. I presume we click back over here to make it go away. Yeah, there we go. So you have got written procedures inside the aeroplane as well. Within the tablet, there's actually quite a lot of functionality. It's a common tablet to most of the JustFlight aircraft, so if you go and click on the home key, you can get back out to here and you can see straight away, you can go to operational flight plans, so it's got Simbrief integration. So we could go and pull up an operational flight plan to do an IFR flight. We've got a moving map display, which is quite cool. So we might actually use that during the flight. It might be useful. So we're going to fly down south of here to the lake and then have a look around the hills. So this will bring us back. We've got Navigraph integration with charts. So Navigraph is connected, so we could use that. So we could do the en route charts and see where we are. If we go to the VFR maps, that will make a lot of sense, won't it? Okay. There is a notepad in here, and you can type in it if you wish. There's a pen as well, so you could scribble things. The checklists are built into the aeroplane as well. There's a descent calculator and some settings for the tablet as well. So yeah, there's a ton of functionality in here, isn't there? But the aircraft tablet has got, also the aircraft app has got the basic information, which is useful to have at hand. I think we'll just leave the map on today. It's quite a neat one, isn't it? Seeing as we don't have a GPS, having a tablet in the cockpit with a map with where we are would be really handy. So let's go and work through the procedure to get the airplane up and running. We can click on the base of the stalks, obviously, to pop the yokes off. I'm just going to check what I've got going on with these sticks. They're probably not configured, are they? So the throttle is almost configured. So there's a bit of a problem in the simulator at the moment, which hopefully they'll address in Sim Update 3. You're going to see how long it's going to take me to change my throttle quadrant settings. Notice this pause. And I can't do anything until it releases. So, and it's going to do it again. So I'm going to apologize for this in advance. This is a bug in Flight Simulator 2024 Sim Update 2. This bug did not exist before, and hopefully it will go away soon. So we need to go and change the profile. So I'm going to step through the various profiles I've got. Unfortunately, I can't just drop down and choose one, which is super frustrating. So I'm going to have to keep clicking the right button until I get to the throttle and mixture profile. So I can't imagine how painful this is for people that have not used the simulator before, that don't have any profiles. So we're going to have to wait 4 or 5 times while I pedal through these to get to the one I want. It's painful, isn't it? Here we go. So here goes throttle and propeller. It's the next one, I think. Well, I'm hoping it's the next one. Here we go, throttle and mixture. Save and back and resume. So now I should have good control of the mixture and of the throttles, which is what we're after. Okay, so mixture goes to rich. Fuel selector goes to the desired tank. So we'll go for left tank to begin with. We can prime the aeroplane. So if we have a look, where is the primer? Parking brake. Where have they hidden it? There's the parking brake there. So what's this? Okay, that's not interactive. Carb heat. Battery and alternator. We've got an air vent over here. Let's just slide over to the other side. Here it is. There's the primer. Okay, and then we can go and turn the battery on and the alternator on, and then we can put the fuel pump on. Put the anti-collision lights on. Throttle to 1/4 of an inch or so open, and magnetos to start. So we're going to adjust the throttle for 1000 RPM. Should I put that yoke back on? And we'll just wait for the gauges. Probably don't need the fuel pump on now. So let's go and have a look at the various things, make sure these are on. So ADF can come on, turn the various volume knobs on. So this should be on standby while we're sat here. And I think 7000 tends to be code that we'll be using. So we've got the landing light there and the pitot heat. We have got some lights internally as well. Obviously there's not going to make much sense in daylight. If we do go and turn the weather off. Yes, I'm just reading the comments. The controller mapping is the biggest issue with Sim Update 2. The controller profiles, the way they work in 2024 is genius, and it is so much better than any other simulator. When they fixed all the issues with it, it will be brilliant. Okay, so we've turned the various radios on, we've done the transponder, we've done the ADF receiver, we've done the panel lights. We're going to press comma to calibrate the altimeter, so that's a quick way of doing that. We're essentially ready to taxi, so oh my word, where did he come from? So let's go and have a look. Where's the wind coming from today? From the southeast. So we'll be taking off runway 08, so we just taxi straight out onto runway 08. I'm not going to be using radio today. So park and brake off. So if you wish, you can do a run-up check. So we'll have a go at doing that. We'll just pull out over towards the holding point for the runway. Get away from the buildings to rev the engine up. So I'll just turn head tracking off to do this. So what we're going to do is put the parking brake on. We're going to take the engine up to 1800 RPM. And then we're going to manipulate the mags and watch the revs. So it's about 100 drop, which is what you're expecting, and there should be no real difference between left and right mags, and then back to both. You're also looking for vacuum, which is up here. It should be between 4.5 and 5, I think. Oh no, 4.9 to 5.1, so it's exactly on 5 by the look of it. And oil temperature within limits, oil pressure within limits, it's all looking good. So the pressure's good, oil temperature's good, so I can put it back to 1000. Oh, you can. The other thing you can do, if we take it back to 1800, just to test this out and see if they've implemented it. If we take it to 1800 and drop the carb heat, or put the carb heat on, there you go. You got a drop, and turn it off, and it comes back. Very good. So they have simulated that. Okay, we're about to go onto the runway. So landing light on, pitot heat on, put the yoke back on. Put the head tracking back on, and off we go, off to the races. So the wind is coming from kind of that direction, over that hill, and it's going to be pushing our tail plane. Okay, let's get in the air and see how it flies. So we've got a nice long runway here. So about 55 knots should be able to rotate. So I've gone a bit fast, and you look at it leap into the air. It's amazing. So we'll climb out to 1,000 feet and do a circuit. You can see the wind is pushing us around a bit, but that's good because we get to see it. So coming up to 500 feet, we'll start a gentle left turn. What just happened to the sunshine? Sun has just gone behind a cloud. So we're coming out towards 1,000 feet. So we're just going to do a quick touch and go to get a feel for it, and then we'll go for a fly down off towards Dingle. So I'm just reading the comments there. I haven't read a lot about the update for the aeroplane, other than obviously it's been made compatible. Okay, let's bring the aeroplane back in. First stage of flaps. You see that crosswind's actually quite strong, isn't it? So I'm crabbing at the moment. We'll try and straighten the aeroplane up as we lose lift. Whoa, it just picked up there. Did you see that? So we slammed it back down onto the ground. So flaps back to take off. Trying to juggle with the rudder to hold the centre line in this wind. Easier said than done. Let's have a look at it from outside. Look at that crabbing. Okay, so just looking at the map, we're going to turn right and head off towards the hills. Go and have some fun. Actually, if we stay in the vicinity of the airport just for a little bit, we'll do some stall tests. So we're just going to climb and get some altitude. I'm not sure what best climb rate is in this aeroplane. It's probably about 70 knots. But without having the book in front of me, I'm not entirely sure. So I'm going to be guesstimating it. Okay, let's try it then. So I'm going to hold the attitude, watch the airspeed fall off, and see what happens. So it's controllable. So it's just mushing basically. That's very cool. I like the sounds it makes. So let's try a more pronounced stall. So, and it's dropped the left wing. Get some airspeed back. Let's try that again. So that would imply that it will spin, but there's a great big label somewhere over there saying do not spin. Where does it say? I think it's underneath here. No, that's the starter labels. There's usually great big signage on these aeroplanes saying not certified for spins, but we'll just do one more trip round in a circle while we're gaining altitude, and we'll try and spin it and see what happens. We really need a bit more height though to spin it. So we'll just do one more loop around to get some more height. We're coming up through 2,000 feet, so if we get to 3,000. Yeah, this may be certified for spins. I know it's fantastic at side slipping. I'm just going to get the nose down a bit, our speed's getting a bit low. Starting to lean the mixture out a little bit as well. We never put the transponder on, did we? Although we're not using ATC today, so it doesn't really matter. So 2,500 feet. We'll get to 3,000 feet, and then we'll try a spin now. I just want to give myself enough altitude to get back out of it. It's not the most powerful plane in the world, but that's kind of interesting in its own way. So there's the lake we're going to be flying off towards in a bit. So here comes 3,000 feet. And all we'll do is pull the nose up and make it stall. So I'll keep the elevator in. No, it didn't look, it flicked under, but it's not going to continue on. What if we force it? No, it's not going to have it. What about that way? Yeah, it will spin. Okay. Opposite rudder. Full power. So we had to give it power with the rudder to get it to kick out. The rudder on its own wasn't going to do it. So yeah, it spins. It will spin right. It didn't want to spin left. That was interesting. That may have been just the direction I was across the wind though that caused that. But yeah, it spins. Good fun. That's what simulators are for, isn't it? To do the things you would never do. Okay, now we can just go for a fly through the hills and see how we get on. Oh, that's quite nice. JustFlight have allowed you to trim the ailerons. Obviously in the real plane you would just hold the yoke at an angle, which is more difficult with a spring-loaded joystick in the or spring-loaded yoke even in the simulator. So they've allowed you to trim not only the elevators but the ailerons as well. So you can trim out the natural torque roll of the aeroplane, or even the wind, you know, tipping the aeroplane as it hits the tailplane. So Flight Simulator's got better and better. It does simulate the P factor and things like that, so the air swirling along the tail, or swirling around the body and hitting the tail, which rotates the aeroplane. Also it simulates, if you imagine the propellers whizzing round, if we pull up steeply, will it do it? Very obviously. No, the propeller's not quite big enough for it to show it's doing it there, look. Notice the aeroplane tipped to one side. That's because the direction the propeller's spinning, one side's grabbing air. So as you lift the nose up, there's more angle of attack on one side of the propeller than the other. Yeah, so this is the downward side of the propeller. So as you lift the nose, it grabs more air and the aeroplane twists to the left. It's much more pronounced in planes like the C208 or the Kodiak, because they've got enormous propellers. But yeah, it's all simulated in the airflow. You can, I'm not sure, I'm not going to go meddling with it now, but in 2024 you can turn on visualization of the airflow. So you can see kind of the computational fluid dynamics. So I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but quite apart from doing the same trick that X-Plane does with, I think they call it blade element analysis in X-Plane, Flight Simulator goes a step further. It builds a box around the aeroplane and flies molecules over it, over the shape of the aeroplane. So it uses that kind of as a sampling technique. So it looks at the wind or wherever the air's coming from. So when you're near a hill, that's how it's so accurate with the aeroplane being pitched around, because it's actually simulating the wind passing through the box and how it interacts with the shape of the aeroplane. It's very clever. So Coda 101 is saying, yeah, the Tomahawk is challenging to recover from a spin. We just saw that. Your normal technique to get out of a spin is just opposite rudder with a neutral stick. And I did that for the first turn, and then nothing happened. I whacked the power on to put thrust over the tail surfaces, and that kicked it out of the spin. So having some thrust over the tail surface removed the rotation. Obviously it's dead easy to do in a simulator because you're just sat here in an armchair looking at the screen. In the real thing, you've got your hand gripping this, you know, one hand on the yoke, another hand gripping the glare shield, and if you had anything loose in the cockpit, which you shouldn't have had, it should all have been stowed before doing a spin test. Anything that's loose will be flying around the cockpit, clattering around the place. I think we're high enough. So we've still probably got the landing lights on, haven't we? Yeah. So question is, if I press Control, I've got Control Alt and Z mapped to correct the directional gyro against the compass. So it's reading 210 up here. It's slightly off. So let's watch what happens. If I press Control Alt Z, watch the directional gyro. It moved a minimal amount, not much. So it does drift, but only a tiny bit. Which is what you'd expect. So let's have a little look at the map. See our crazy flight plan we're weaving. So we're going to go through this pass, the Gap of Dunlow. There is no autopilot in this airplane, by the way, so get used to hand flying. I don't have a problem with it, but I know a lot of people love having autopilots. I actually quite like flying aeroplanes properly, and you know, what do they call it? Stick and rudder. So we need to be a little bit aware of where the wind is coming from, so it's in our face. It's just that if you're ever flying towards a steep hill and the wind is coming from behind the hill, you need to be careful. Because the wind it behaves as the real world in the simulator. So say you had wind coming from the right here, it would come along this rise and hug the ground as it pulls down. So if you were flying along here low, you would get forced down towards the lake. Yeah? But obviously the wind would then pick up again, but it would appear that you would be sinking until you get to the point where you're not anymore. But you have to imagine the air mass moving with the wind, and you're going with it. So you can get yourself into trouble if you're not really, you know, not got your eyes open about what's going on. Starting to be affected by the air moving around us between these hills. So we'll loop around the hills, then we'll head back towards Kerry, I guess. So if we turn left and go back out along the edge of the lake. Should we have a play with the nav radios while we're doing this? Are there any VORs nearby? There's one over at Cork, 11460. They're the comm radios, aren't they? Have we not got a nav radio? Am I being blind? Or do they do double duty? I'll have to have a close look in a moment. Because we've got a nav instrument here. Yeah, OBS, nav. Oh, there we go. Oh, look where I'm going, really. So we want 11460. So here's the standby frequency that we're tuning in. Then switch it to active. This should come alive, although the hills are probably in the way, so it's not going to pick anything up, is it? So a largely fruitless exercise. What's the range of the Cork VOR? 80 miles. So we should pick it up as soon as we get clear of the hills. So if we carry on this way, we might pick the signal up on nav 1. If we fly back out towards Cork, we'll almost certainly see it. Towards Kerry, sorry, not Cork. Put the head tracking back on. Swim and Climb is saying, have I got third-party Kerry Airport scenery? Yep, I've put the link in the notes of the video. This is the INI builds, or the version of Kerry that you can get from INI builds. I'm not sure who the developer is. Still haven't picked up the VOR, have we? Thought we might have done by now. Oh, it's behind those hills though, isn't it? So if you look over, we might get it now and again, but I think the hills are in the way. Depending on the weather, you can sometimes get VORs behind hills, but I don't know. Of course, this hasn't got distance measuring either, has it? We could obviously switch this out for a GPS unit, and then it will be easy peasy to change everything. So let's see where we are in relation to Kerry. So if we follow the main road, it will pretty much take us there. Ireland's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? So, Zach is saying, have you seen that iFly has released an experimental version of their Max 8? No, not yet. I've been kind of busy the last few days with other things away from the simulator, or away from flying. I've been helping a group called My Air. Anybody who subscribed to my blog will have seen a post about it today. But I was talking to one of the guys at My Air last night. I took part in their group flight. I was talking to one of them afterwards, and I said, really, it's their fault. Everything I'm doing here today is really their fault, because about 5 years ago, I sat in on a group flight with them. And I wasn't actually going to take part. I'd only just got a computer that could run a simulator, and I sat there on the ground and connected to TeamSpeak back in the day. This is before Discord became popular. And I was just going to observe, because my dad had been a member of their group for years, and when we gone to visit in the summer, we'd seen him sat with his headset on and writing down flight plans and things like this and talking on the radio. And the kids had to keep out of the room when they were little if he was doing it while we were visiting. And we kind of, we laughed about it at the time, but then, fast forward a few years and I suddenly have a computer that can run a simulator that I inherited from my dad because he upgraded. And I went and joined My Air one night, and I was just going to sit there and not take part. And then one of the guys that was doing ATC that night called me over the radio. He said, "What flight level are you flying?" And rather than say, "Oh, I'm not flying," I thought, "Oh, what the hell," and gave him a flight level and started busily getting my aeroplane ready. And that was the end of that. And I ended up flying with them week in, week out for the best part of a couple of years, whenever I could. And made some really great friends there. So yeah, I was saying to them, I've been helping them with their website, because they really didn't have a beginner's guide or an onboarding kind of guide for newcomers. So I've been helping them build that out. And I said, in a way, what I wish for is for the experience I had, for other people to have the experience I had of joining a group. And this was flying the big jets. My Air tend to fly big jets on group flights, and they have simulated ATC, so a couple of them will volunteer to be air traffic controllers, and they will hand people off during the flight, or if there's only one person, you all stay in the same channel and just talk to the one person throughout the flight. But they completely transformed my view of flight simulation. It made flying on my own very boring after doing that. So yeah, if you go and have a look at my blog, which I think is linked in the notes, the most recent post is about My Air, and pretty much telling the story I've just told you, but also telling people where to go to look for their Discord server and their website and their newsletter. So I've been helping them get up to speed with that, with being, getting the world to know they even exist. Because they are probably some of the most friendly and knowledgeable and experienced simulator users you'll ever meet. And of course, my dad is one of them. Okay, we're going to drop back in towards the airport. So yeah, I had the iFly Max 8 in 2020. That's interesting. Look how accurate that was. Put the flaps down, the nose tipped down. So that, the flaps kicked the wings up, which pushed the nose down. That is awesome. Oh, we were going to have a play with side slipping, weren't we? This plane is famous for being good at side slipping, so let's stay high. I'm going to side slip to the left. Just getting a balance for it. See how it behaves. Need to be careful with the airspeed, otherwise I could drop a wing right over the top of the runway. Still a bit of a whack rather than a nice smooth landing, but given the unpredictable weather and not knowing the aeroplane, I'll take it. Let's do a turnaround on the runway. I don't think there's a taxiway over there. So I'll go and show you the airport while we're here as well then, for those that are interested. This is Kerry, available from Builds. It's quite a nice little airport. And it's got a big enough runway that you can operate jets from it. Or small jets anyway. I'm going to completely ignore the official taxi lines. Parking brake on. Let's see if there's an animation. Okay, the propeller stopped quite quickly, didn't it? The sounds are very good. I guess what we could do, if we go and put that tablet back on for a second, we could come back to the aeroplane tab and go and put the chocks in place and the tie downs. There's a tow bar as well and pitot covers. Let's go and have a look at that. Okay, so it's got like a rudimentary tow bar you might use for ground handling, for moving it around. So let's go and press Shift X. And oh, I've unplugged the Xbox controller, haven't I? So I'm reduced to the keyboard. But it's good enough probably to show you around the airport. It's not the most super detailed airport. You can see there's no figurines or anything in it, but it's good enough. And that means it's good on frame rate. Crikey, those cars are moving down that road, aren't they? You see the speed they went by? So yeah, you can see it's quite simplified. But that's good, because it means if you've got lesser hardware, this airport is not going to bring your sim to its knees. Which some of the international ones are terrible for doing that, aren't they? Should go and have a nosy in the hangar over here, see what's going on. Nothing. So there you go anyway. So that was the JustFlight Piper PA38 Tomahawk. in Flight Sim 2024, which has now been made compatible with the simulator, and it flew wonderfully. I was really impressed with it, to be honest. Obviously, I'm not a real-world pilot of PA38, but I do know somebody now who is. So I will be asking her what her opinion is of it, because I think she's going to go and grab a copy of it. So there you go. I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed that this evening. Just a quick look at the aeroplane. And I'm just going to answer a question here. So someone's saying, is there a problem with the altimeter? We want to press shift and there we go. Is there a problem with the altimeter? So if we adjust it, it's working for me. So you can see the that's inches, isn't it, in the Colesman window there. And you can see the altitude changing, and if I press comma, it will set it to the local barometric pressure. That's working fine. What you might discover... is your tablet working in the aircraft? Because it does a license check when you open the tablet. Also, if you try and run the 2020 version of the plane in 2024, good luck with that. But otherwise, this is obviously the 2024 version of the aeroplane. So I've not looked at the update list to see what's been fixed or changed in it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed that this evening, and I will see you all again soon. I expect I'll be doing another of the round the world legs soon, so I may even use the PA38 to do it. Take care.